rise of prices of commodities in this country, be it rice, foodstuffs in general, fuel, petrol, transportation, everything has been hiked in this country. This is a country that is a capitalist country, and every price of a commodity is dependent on demand and supply of the same. However, there is a new phenomena in town, and not just in Kenya, it is all over the world, and that is an increase in inflation. And today, I want us to discuss inflation and how you can survive through an inflation like this one. My name is Kishure Rungu. In this channel, we discuss about personal development, finance, and investments. Welcome. So what is this thing that is called inflation? Inflation ni nini? Well, inflation is just a measure of the increase in price of commodities between a given period of time. It is usually measured per year or per month globally. So what you need to do is just get the price of sugar, for example. No, let me use meat. The price of meat, for example, in January, and the price of meat at the end of December, or the price of meat in 1st of January and the price of meat on 30th of December. And then you just check what is the difference between them, and you calculate the percentage of that, and then multiply that with all the products that you can come across, and you'll get what is called a price index. It will show you how the increase in commodities or the prices of commodities has gone. What is the percentage, by how much? And that is what is called inflation. It is not such a bad thing, but when it gets to certain levels of percentages, then it becomes dangerous, especially to the people who are not earning very well, the low cadre. Now, so it is simply the rate of increase of price of a given period of time for goods and services. There are 4 types of inflation. We want to call it 4 types of inflation. And I want to discuss them just for our knowledge, just for us to know what they are all about. And number 1 is hyperinflation. Hyperinflation. Hyperinflation happens when you have calculated the things I've said, the prices of commodity I've said just a while ago, and you find that the rise in prices of those particular commodities has reached 50%. So, for example, you used to buy meat at 500 shillings. Now you're buying the meat at 750 shillings per kg. That means there is an increase of 50% from the original price to the new price. When that happens, then we can comfortably say that that particular country or that particular region is experiencing hyperinflation. Examples of countries that have gone through this is Zimbabwe, our very own neighbors down here. Venezuela is going through that right now. The inflation is over 400%. 400%. Argentina is going through the same. I think the inflation is about 200 and something percent. Of course, it oscillates depending on the month. And very many other countries which are going. There's quite a number of countries that are going through this kind of hyperinflation. Ignore the flight that's going up here. That's the beauty of staying in a place where there's a flight path. Anyway, that is hyperinflation. Number 2, we have what is called the galloping inflation. The inflation is between 11% and 49%. So when you do the calculation, you find that the difference is coming to about 11, or a percentage between 11 and 49. That is called galloping. You know the way a horse gallops. So it is moving at a speed, but it is not as high as the hyperinflation. So, and there are quite a number of countries that are going through this. especially Kenya, we have not reached there yet. Inflation in some countries in the European nation, their inflation is above 10%, 11% and above. Then, number three, we come to what is called the working inflation. The working inflation has a percentage of between 3 and 10%. That is where Kenya falls. We are under the working inflation. So our inflation, like for last month, I think it was 7.2, down from 9.2. It is about 7% thereabout. And that is where we are walking. The inflation is just walking. It looks like it's about to start trotting. If it starts trotting now, galloping, we are headed to something else. Then the last one, number 4, is what is called the creeping inflation. The creeping inflation is the target of each and every country in this world. Everyone's want to be below 3%. It's creeping. You don't feel it. Even there's an increase in the price of bread, you don't feel it because it's moving very slowly. It's a very good market for many, or rather, a good place to be as a country. The consumers will love it and the citizens. So, is there a country that is at that, below that? Absolutely. For example, Switzerland. I think they are headed towards 1.3% inflation. That is the best example I can give you. So they have not felt what is being felt in other places. Switzerland is one of them. So these are the types of inflations that you can get around. So I said hyperinflation, another one is galloping, another one is walking, and the final one was creeping. It's good to know where you are at. Are you walking, galloping, or creeping, or you are hyper fast? Now, what causes this inflation? What really causes this inflation? There are 3 major causes of inflation, and I'm just going to explain them in very layman's language so that we don't get lost, because it is economics and other economists can delve deeply into it and explain it more. But for the sake of people around us who are not economists and people who just want to understand what's happening, let me explain it in layman's language. Number 1, generally, before I go to number 1, generally inflation is caused by oversupply of money. That is basic. That's the basic issue. So there is more money than the goods which are being supplied. That is what causes inflation generally. But number 1, we have what is called the demand pool effect. It's a place where every one of us would love to be as a country and even as a people. It's called the demand pool effect. This is where there is an increase of supply of money, which stimulates demand for goods at a faster rate than the goods are being produced. So because of that demand, because people have money, they want more meat, and the production of meat is slower than the demand. So generally the prices will increase, causing an inflation in a country. Whichever kind of goods you can talk about, whichever. So generally the prices increase. It's called the demand pool inflation. It's because people are earning better now, or they have found sources of money they can get. That is why you find countries like Finland, countries like the ones in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia, like the countries in, you can talk about those expensive cities, Singapore. The income of the citizens are very high. Because of that, generally the prices of the prices of goods and services in those countries or those cities is also very high. It's because of this demand pool inflation. It's a good place. It shows that the country is doing very well because people can afford and the prices can be high and the cycle continues. Number 2, we have what is called the cost push effect. So now this inflation is caused because of the cost of production of goods, which has increased. It is on the production side. Remember, the other one was demand was on the consumer side. Now it is on the production side, the industries that are producing goods and services. This is called the cost push effect. How does this happen? Due to various factors, you may find that the production of goods, production of bread at Broadway, at Broadway in Thika, has gone high. Why has it gone high? Number one could be because the cost of production or the cost of sourcing the goods, like the raw materials, that is, could be like wheat and the milk they use to make the bread and the eggs they use has gone high. Okay, so the cost of production also goes high. Another example would be the workers are demanding more money, so the cost of production also goes high. So you may find that that causes the price of that particular bread which you are buying at 60 bob, now it goes to 70 bob. So it is increasing the inflation. There could also be other external forces that are causing the cost of production to go high. Number one could be government policies. So where the government decides, we were taxing these guys 8%, now we are going to tax them 15. So generally that tax will be, the cost of that will mean that the production of that will be higher. Increase in fuel that they use to produce. So if increase in petroleum products go high, the cost of production for goods and services will go high. You know, other effects like other ones outside the country, like we are talking about the war in Ukraine, which made fuel, production, not production, but supply of fuel to decrease because now there were some sanctions done in Russia, which was a major producer of oil. So it caused generally there to be a shortage of fuel in one way or the other, which caused the prices to increase, which caused, for example, in Kenya, the importation of fuel became more expensive, and hence the cost of fuel went higher. And that is the previous government came in with subsidies to subsidize the cost of fuel. Now, I will discuss subsidies in another video because subsidies are good for short term. They are very bad for the economy of a country in the long term. It helps for that particular period of time, but long term, it's not sustainable. So that is why the Uhuru government was coming in with the issue of subsidies to help the people survive. That is called cost push effect inflation. The last one is the built-in inflation. This is it's an artificial cost of inflation. It is based on expectations of people. It's very interesting. It is based on expectations of people. People expect that the inflation will continue to increase, that prices of goods and services will continue to increase in the near future. What do? They go to their employers, for example, the workers, and demand for more money. They demand for a higher increase, or rather for an increase in their salaries. They demand for the people that are supplying things, they price their products a bit higher. What happens in this is that there is what is called the wage price spiral effect. Because the wages are more expensive, the companies will generally increase their prices to cover the wage. And the cycle continues, and vice versa happens as well. If the wages are low, the prices will be low. So it is built-in, it is an artificial, it is not based on external factors like wars that are happening elsewhere, or there is a disaster that happened somewhere that is causing the prices. No, it's just people imagining that inflation will continue like that. So those are the type of inflation that you're going to find, or the causes of inflation that you're going to generally find in the world. There could be others. You can go back and just read a bit more, but these are the three major causes: demand pull effect, cost push effect, and built-in inflation. Now, in my next video, I'll be talking about how to survive inflation in Kenya. You cannot miss it. It's coming after this one. There'll be another video on how to survive inflation in Kenya. My name is Gichure Irungu. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end of this video. I hope I have added value to you for more understanding of what is happening in the country and in the world generally. And I hope this will be a good learning platform for you. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel, like this video and share it. Otherwise, see you and God bless you. Bye.